Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the Moments Podcast. I am your host, Lexi Hidalgo, and today's episode is all about advice. Not necessarily my advice, but let me tell you where it came from. The other day, I got home from a long trip, and my brain was so, kind of like it always is, overwhelmed by just things I needed to do, things I needed to catch up on, and I had the bright idea to post a TikTok and just say, hey, what's the best advice you've ever heard? And originally, that comment section was kind of just for people to look through and go through and take whatever they wanted to remember from it, and also just for me to do the exact same thing. I love hearing the things that stick with people and hearing the advice that actually has worked for them and stuck in their brain. Like for me, there are certain things and certain pieces of advice that I will never forget, and other certain things and pieces of advice that just kind of go in one ear and out the other every time that I hear it. And I always find that so interesting. It's like, what is the advice that you always remember? And why is that the piece of advice that you always remember? And I think it's because, we know what we have a hard time actually listening to and applying to our life. And I think that the pieces of advice we remember the most are because that's like what we need the most. Those are the reminders. That's the things that we haven't successfully been able to apply to our life, which is why we can't seem to forget it, if that makes sense. Because I feel that once you've actually applied something to your life, it's easier to let go of. Maybe not. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to read you some of the most liked comments from that comment section. So I've titled a list and I've called it the best advice ever. And I'm just going to go through these. We'll talk a little bit about each one of them. And this episode probably won't be too long. So if you have a short drive coming up or you want to go for a little walk, I have a feeling it'll be about 20 minutes long. So tune in if you want to, tune out if you don't want advice, but I highly encourage you to tune in. Thank you again for being here. I absolutely love and adore you guys. And this podcast has finally become something that I get really excited to record every week again, or at this point every other week. And it's not that I ever didn't love it. I think that I was just going through my own stuff mentally, and I was like spreading myself a little bit too thin in things that I didn't need to be spreading myself thin in. And anyways, we didn't ask for a spiel or a brain dump. You guys are here for the best advice ever, and I'm going to go ahead and get to it. This one wasn't even the most liked, and I really think that it should have been, and maybe it's because it just really hit me and stabbed me hard in the heart, and I really needed to hear it. It is, the words you speak become the house that you live in. In other words, like the way that you talk, the way that you think is going to be the way that you begin to fully believe that you are. So if you spend so much time constantly, even if it's jokingly, talking down about yourself, if you're somebody who jokes and likes to just tear yourself apart kind of for fun, we kind of make self-deprecating jokes for fun. It's a little bit of a trend. It's just what we do to ease our mind and ease our heart and just be funny, Like if you're not feeling good about yourself, you love to just joke about how much you hate yourself. And it already sounds pretty harsh saying things like that, but it's such a true reality. I notice that the more time I spend being so unkind to myself, the more I believe the things that I'm saying about myself. If I'm constantly looking in the mirror saying, oh my gosh, I hate this, of course it's going to be the thing that I tend to gravitate towards more, and it's going to be the thing that I notice more and more and more, and I'm giving it more attention. The less attention you give the negative thoughts you have about yourself, the less power they're going to have over you. So it is so true when they say that the words you speak become the house that you live in. Speak positively, speak kindly, not just about yourself, about others, about your career, about your future, about what you're going to be. I spend a lot of time joking too that I'm just, I have no job this, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and this and that. And it can be really funny and lighthearted sometimes, yeah. But the more that you say these funny and lighthearted things, the less funny and lighthearted they become. And I think that more of us have experienced that than we will admit. What sometimes begins as a joke often is not a joke after a certain point. An example that I like to think about is there used to be people that I spent a lot of time around that would honestly just be so... They would try to be funny by making certain jokes that I would laugh at one point, and after a certain point, you just can't laugh anymore, and things just hurt because you start to wonder if it's more of a personal attack than you once thought it was. I'm going to keep moving on because I'm getting myself a little bit distracted here, but just think about that. Think about a friend who used to make jokes that made you laugh, and after a certain amount of time, you weren't laughing at them anymore, and then envision yourself the same way. Recognize that you too can make yourself feel that way. This kind of leads me to another really random piece of advice that I didn't even write down here, but it's essentially that you are the only person that you have in your life forever. So I think that being a good friend to yourself and being a good encouragement partner and teammate is very important. You never want to be your own enemy. You never want to be somebody that you wouldn't want to be around if you were with a person in physical form, you know? Be somebody that you enjoy being around to yourself. Let the voice in your head be a positive one because it goes such a long way. Next, things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. This one really gets me, and I think it gets a lot of us because it's really easy to say that things shouldn't happen, or you're frustrated that they're happening to you and you can't seem to understand why, and you just want to blame other people and other things for the way that you feel. And the reality of it is, and this is, I think, more of a mindset shift than, well, the advice here is to shift your mindset, to recognize that everything is happening for you. If you choose to live your life in a way that looks at the world like that, you will feel better about every single situation that you have to face, from things as big as like life-changing moments to moments as small as getting a red light when you're in a rush. Everything is happening for you, and everything is happening for a reason. And when you choose to believe that, it brings you such a different level of peace. And I think sometimes it's a little bit delusional. Like sometimes I think that when people say like, oh, everything is happening exactly in this moment for a reason. I stubbed my toe for a reason. I'm like, dude, no, I didn't. But sometimes it's really helpful to think delusionally, to look at the world like that, because it's so exhausting to constantly be wondering why bad things are happening to you or why bad things are happening around you, and to just constantly be living in this negative state of mind, in this victim state of mind, when you could literally choose to see the world the opposite way. We don't really give ourselves enough credit for how much our mindset can change the way that we live, but it can. Your mindset is absolutely everything. Okay, I really liked this one. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. I don't know why my mouth is so dry right now. I really, really, really loved this one, and I've never heard anything like it, and it just got me thinking. It just got me reflecting back on the past and, different scenarios, and it makes so much sense. If you weren't invited, you don't want to be there anyways. I can't tell you how many things that happened in high school, and even in college, honestly, and even after college, that I was just so disappointed that I didn't get invited to these different parties or these different boat days or these different events, hangouts, whatever it may have been. But looking back on my life, all of those places that I wanted to be so badly in high school, I can understand now exactly why God didn't want me in those rooms, exactly why I wasn't invited into those situations in the first place. Because it's so true that if you're not invited to something, it's probably because the people there don't want you there. And you could choose to look at that as something that's very harsh and very negative, or you could choose to just recognize that I don't want to be in a room with people who don't want me in the room anyways. I don't want to have to be in a room where I'm forcing people to like me. I'm making people have to tolerate me. I want people to celebrate me, to be dying to have me there, to be just happy around me being myself. I don't want to have to go into a room where I'm forcing myself to be anybody but myself, if that makes sense. I really, really liked that one. Next, someone else's beauty doesn't ever take away from your own. This one's one of my favorites. It's something that I am constantly having to remind myself of. I don't know why I get really in my head about this sometimes. I find myself constantly comparing people's looks to my own, and not in a way that's super, super pressing on my view of myself, but I think the fact that I have those thoughts anyways, the fact that I feel that I have to remind myself that I'm beautiful when I see somebody else beautiful is something that I'm working on, because I don't really want to have to go through that thought loop. If you get what I mean, like I just want to be able to appreciate people's beauty and not have it diminish my own at all. So this is one of those that I'm constantly reminding myself of, and I think I'm working so much on just inner confidence and just getting rid of all forms of insecurity within me to just be able to admire people without not admiring me, you know, like being able to admire two things at once, knowing that two things can be true at once, and just learning to love myself and love everybody around me. Next, don't take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't want advice from. Honestly, as I go through this list, I feel like I'm listening to just a whole entire, what are those things called? Why is my brain farting? You know, a compilation of different pieces and different things that we've talked about on this podcast. But this one we talked about very recently. We talked about it last week. A lot of people who will have something negative to say about you are people that you want to be nothing like in the first place. And honestly, that has nothing, that's not tearing down anybody who is the one saying those things. It's okay to like want to be a different person than somebody else. Like it's okay if your vision of your life isn't living in a van and doing van life and traveling the world. And it's okay if your vision of life and your goal in life isn't to be an engineer. You know, we all have a different path, and it's totally okay to recognize that the opinion of somebody who's doing nothing of what you want to do in your life shouldn't really have that much weight on you. I think that there's a difference between somebody's negative opinion for no reason and somebody like wanting to actually just help you and give you constructive criticism and wanting to help you grow and be a better, stronger version of yourself. I think there's a very clear difference, but what I'm talking about here is just don't let any hater like have any say over the decisions that you make if they're just saying it to say it and they're not living a life that you're inspired by of any kind. Another version of this one is like, don't take advice from people who you wouldn't ask. Oh no, don't, it'll come to me. Don't listen to opinions from people you wouldn't ask for advice from. It's the same thing in a similar form, same nutshell though, same umbrella. So take that as you will. That's a really big one for me. I'm always reminding myself of that when I have like some random old man leave a hate comment or like look at me weird. Literally leave me alone. You're the furthest from the kind of person that I would want to be anyways. Why does your opinion of what I look like mean anything? Or why does your opinion of what I do for work mean anything to me? You get me? Next, one of my favorites, I'll always say this one, be where your feet are. Be where your feet are. This means be exactly where you are right now. You have no control over what has happened to you in the past, and whether you believe it or not, you really don't have that much control over what's going to happen to you in the future. But you have right now, you have this moment to be in, you have this moment to soak up your life, because life is way too short. Tomorrow is not promised. All you can really do is be right here and be right now and just be where your feet are. I need this one tattooed, like on the bottom of my feet or something. Actually, I need it tattooed somewhere I can see it, because I need this drilled into my brain. Every single one of us need this drilled into our brain every single day, every single morning. I might make it a reminder on my phone, to be completely honest. Next, this one was really good, a little bit deep. You can't break generational curses by seeking validation from that same generation. You can't change the way that people are all the time, especially people in different generations than you. Like, if you have a hard time getting your parents to understand you, but you're also seeking a certain level of validation from them, you're just going to kind of continue the loop and continue the cycle. And I think that that's something very important to think about. And I think you could take that little line of advice and do what you got to do with it. See where it applies in your life. See if it applies in your life. And move and grow. And I think that actually kind of transitions me into something else that I don't have written down. But honestly, just like allowing yourself to stop seeking validation from anybody that's kind of not in your direct circle goes a long way. So many of us are constantly trying to impress every single person around us, yet we know that that's completely impossible and we can't please everybody. Somehow we try, and when you try, you start to lose yourself. So seek validation from you, seek validation from God, and seek validation from the people that are close to you in your life. And sometimes not even them. Next, it's everybody's first time living. This one is one that I really like to remind myself of when I'm just getting mad about things for no reason, when I'm getting frustrated with my family, with my friends, in my relationship, or just in general. Whenever I'm being a negative Nancy or a Debbie Downer, I just kind of remind myself that it's everybody's first time living too. And just because you guys hear Leia drinking water in the back, let me just give her a second. I lost my train of freaking thought. My brain's a little bit all over the place today, guys. I'm needing this advice. Anyways, that's what happens when you record a podcast with your dog in the room. I'm moving on to the next one because I kind of completely forget what I'm saying, and I just don't make permanent decisions in momentary situations. This one's very important to remember. I think that when we're young, I want to say young by talking about ages like 18 to 21, it's really easy to let our emotions get the best of us more than we realize. And I definitely still think this happens when you get older. There's like so many adults I know who still make crazy decisions in such temporary moments and in such strong emotions. People are just so quick to act and do things that are crazy, like beyond. Sometimes that doesn't go away, but I think especially when we're young, we don't really realize or think too much about what we're doing. We're just like in a very rebellious state of mind. And I'm not sure what the science behind this is. Maybe it has to do with like 18, you feel like you have more freedom, and then 19 and 20 and 21, like you still kind of live in that headspace. And you just think that your life has no repercussions and you won't have to ever face any oh my gosh, guys, you won't have to ever face any consequences for decisions that you make when you're young. But the reality is that you will. So just remember that everything is temporary. Every situation, every emotion, everything in your life that you feel like is completely consuming you right now will probably not matter to you in 1 year. The things that I experienced 2-3 years ago in my life, I thought were going to be the end of the world for me. I thought I was going to think and dwell and worry about these things for my whole entire life. I can assure you that I worried about them for maybe 1 month, 2 to 3 maximum. Life moves on. Life goes on. Things change. People in our life change. Experiences change. We grow, we move, we transition, and everything is temporary. So don't make permanent, life-changing decisions in moments that are going to be short-lived. Think things through before you do them, especially when you're young, and I could not recommend that more. Next, just because you understand why somebody did something, it doesn't mean you have to constantly excuse their behaviors. This one is really, 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 really important to me because I dealt with this in a lot of friendships when I was much younger. I had friendships where the person that I was friends with was struggling in ways that I couldn't fully understand, but I could see, whether that was like loneliness or insecurity or hurt in their own life. What they would do to handle those things would be to hurt me and hurt our friendship and be unkind and spark issues and be mean for no reason. And for so long, I just gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I just like let it happen, and I let people hurt me, and I just kept excusing it by saying like, no, but they're hurting, and that's why they're doing it. At a certain point, you don't have to put up with that anymore. At a certain point, you can understand and still have sympathy and love for somebody who's hurting you, but you don't have to keep excusing it, and you don't have to keep being the butt of their pain. Not the butt of their pain. Literally, what does that even mean? I meant like the butt of the joke, but I think you don't have to be the, oh my gosh, you guys know what I mean. You don't have to be the one. You don't have, holy crap, you guys. With love, what is going on in my brain? Holy crap. I'm going to take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath together. I can't be the only one that's feeling this way. I'm on day 2 of my period right now. And if you can't tell, it's causing me all kinds of brain fog. You don't have to let people hurt you constantly. At some point, you can still love them and allow yourself to walk away, because you don't deserve to be constantly being hurt by somebody just because they themselves are hurting. You get me? Next. Rejection is redirection. Somebody put this one on a t-shirt. This needs to be on every billboard you pass ever in your life. I think that the older you get, the more you look back on your life and recognize how true this one is. Because in the moment when things didn't work out for me, I was horrified that they weren't working out for me, because I made a visual of my whole life based on getting accepted in this one thing. That was never part of God's plan for me anyways. God's plan for me was for me to be rejected by each and every one of those people, each and every one of those things, each and every one of those schools, situations, managers, agencies, jobs, whatever it is. I was supposed to be rejected by those things, because had I been accepted by them, my life would be completely different. I would not be the person that I am today. I would not be here speaking to you. I would not have the relationship, the friendship, the mindset that I have now, simply because that wasn't what my path was supposed to be aligned for anyways. When I didn't get into the college that I wanted to go to, I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried, and I watched all of my friends get into this school that I had the same grades as, that I was in the same extracurriculars as, and I was heartbroken. I was distraught. I could not understand why they got into something and I didn't get into something. I look back, I was always destined not to go to that school. It didn't make me any less of a student, any less of a person, any less of a winner in my life. It was just simply not what God had planned for me. And in the moment, it didn't feel like that. In the moment, it felt like the end of the world. But it was simply redirection for my life. And I want you to know that and think about that in everything that you do. You cannot be accepted everywhere. The same way you can't be liked by everybody. Things are going to fail. Things aren't going to work out. You're going to be let down by people. You're going to be let down by bosses. You're going to be let down. Period. But don't choose to be let down when you get let down. Choose to look up. Choose to redirect your path and know that something better is going to come. Always, 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 always. Love that one, clearly. Next, nothing changes if nothing changes. I'm going to just let that one be that one, because I remind myself of that one almost constantly. Constantly. What do you expect your life to change? What do you expect to be able to change if you change absolutely nothing? If you're so tired every single morning, like, you're going to continue to wake up tired unless you go to bed earlier. If you're really pissed that you're not strong, that you can't do a push-up, but you never work on doing push-ups, do you think you're just going to wake up one day and be able to do a push-up? No. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you think that if you have a bad friendship with somebody and you just think that one day you're going to wake up and the friendship is going to be perfect, it's not. You have to make changes in your life if you want to see changes in your life, which kind of leads me to another one that's written down somewhere on this list. What you're not changing, you're choosing. If you don't like something about your life, but you're not doing anything about it, that's the life that you're choosing for yourself. You're choosing to live in this hurt. You're choosing to live in this laziness. You're choosing to be in this toxic relationship. In some cases. That one's a sore subject. But what I mean is that if you are going back to a person that is hurting you by choice because you think that you're going to be able to change them, that's what I'm talking about here. Stop choosing things that are hurting you, because the reality is that you know that they are hurting you. And I don't mean to like stab you in the heart with this one, but it's the truth. What you do not change, you choose. Stabbing myself in the heart there too. I speak these things because I know I'm not the only one. This is the one that my mom commented, and it's never go to bed angry. And I think that this one's really key. Reality is, if you go to bed angry, there's a strong likelihood that you're going to wake up angry. Or maybe you won't realize that you're angry, but something will feel off inside of you. And it's probably because you went to bed in this attitude, in this mood. A lot of things happen in our sleep, in our brain, in our body. So settle things before you go to sleep. You don't need to have nightmares about them. When sometimes Gabe and I will fight at night and like we'll fall asleep before we've talked something out. And we've made a really, not that this even happens often, but like now when it does, we make sure to have a conversation before we go to sleep. Like, let's settle this, because the reality of it is we're just having a disagreement because we know that both of us are on the same team anyways. And there is a solution. There is a conclusion that we can come to. We just need to talk about it. Communication goes a long way. So in relationships, discuss things before you go to bed angry. And in things that you can't fix, like if it's not a relationship problem, if it's an anger that you're having towards somebody that you don't want to talk to, or an anger that you're having towards yourself, journal, write, get it out of your head, solve the problem before you go to sleep, because it really does go a long way. I have so many more things written down, and I said this is going to be a 20-minute episode, and here we are at 27 minutes already. Whatever you put above God will not be blessed by God. I think I've touched on this one here before, but we have a choice in our life to recognize that we can be the ones forced to sustain everything that we have going on in our life, or God can sustain everything in our life for us. And the way we decide that is what order we put things in. If God comes first and we do everything in our life with God at the center, God is going to help you sustain that life. God is going to help you sustain those things. If you put things above God, you do things without God, you live in the world, you care about the wrong things, you prioritize the wrong things, God's not going to help bless that. He's not going to help sustain it. It's going to be all on you to do. Hey, I'm recording podcast.
Oh, okay. What do you want from Chipotle?
Surprise me.
Okay, bye.
Love you, bye. When you put God in the center, everything gets easier. And that's truth. That's truth. Okay? I really like this one. Protect your peace, or recognize that sometimes protecting your peace is more important than proving a point. This one hits me really hard because as somebody who is very public with their life on the internet, you deal with a lot of kind of people. A lot of people who just want you to be wrong, who just want to say something negative about you, who essentially just want to be haters. And as a people pleaser, as somebody who is sometimes insecure on the inside, who wants to like prove to people that I should be liked or that I did nothing wrong or that what I'm doing is right, whatever it may be, sometimes all a girl wants to do is argue in the comments with a hater. Not by choice. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to wake up and prove a point to somebody today. That's not how it works. But sometimes you deal with so many negative comments that you just want to stand up for yourself. You just want to put your 2 feet on the ground and say, no, I'm not going to let you talk about me this way. I'm not going to let you keep tearing me down. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Instead of trying to convince that other person of something else to stop them from tearing you down, just like stand up taller to stop them from tearing you down by being the bigger person, by not even giving it the time of day, by recognizing that there are certain people where it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter if you are right. It doesn't matter if you do properly defend yourself. They don't care. They're still not going to like you, and they're still going to keep arguing with you. So let those things go. In your real life, in your Instagram life, in whatever life it may be, protect your peace and make it more important than proving your point. Because peace is much better. I can assure you of that. Stop going the same place and expecting different results. Period. I'm going to let that one be that. I'm going to stop giving these so much time. All you can control is your attitude and your effort. Period. Control your mindset. Okay? Love your mindset. Let yourself be in a good mood. Okay? Choose to be in a good mood. I'm working on it deeply. I notice how much better my life is when I choose happiness, when I choose a positive mindset, when I choose trusting God, when I choose reacting to things peacefully, when I choose peace. Choose peace. Simple. Okay? Next. Be curious, not judgmental. I love this one. Next. What's for you won't pass you. Period. This one I love. Everything is about perspective. My history teacher in 10th grade, literally one of my favorite people to this day, it was his first day of teaching us, and it was about halfway through the year, and we had to get a new teacher because our first teacher went on to maternity leave, and he came in, and I was like kind of pissed that we were getting a new teacher because I really loved the teacher we had before. And he comes in and he tells us this story about how the Titanic was a miracle for the lobsters. And it was all about how perspective means everything. And the way that you view things, the way that other people view things, it's different for each and every individual. So don't try to understand things because you have to recognize that other people are going to see them differently. But at the same time, know that you can change your perspective. You can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and you can see a different side of things, and just never forget about perspective. Simple as that. Last one. Anxiety doesn't take away tomorrow's problems, just today's peace. So true. So true. So true. You can think that worrying about tomorrow is going to like make you less worried tomorrow, but the reality is it isn't. It's not. And I don't think that makes your anxiety disappear, but it can definitely help it at certain times. And yeah, I just want you to think about that. Soak it all in. Sorry for the little brain fart somewhere in the middle of there. I got a little lost when I look around too much. Nothing, like none of the neurons in my brain fire at the same rate. And then I'm just talking about who knows what. But I really appreciate you guys for sticking around and listening to me, even when my mind does that, and always making me feel loved and validated through it. I know that we're all kind of in the same boat sometimes, and I love you all so deeply, and I really appreciate you listening to the Moments podcast, and I hope to talk to you guys again soon. Don't forget to send me a DM on Instagram, send me a DM on TikTok, follow me on both of those places. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know what you guys want to hear. I love to take your recommendations and apply them to episodes that we do in the future. I also am looking for some more guests to have on the podcast, and if you guys just have any ideas, let me know what you want, what as an audience you guys are looking for, what kind of style episodes you like, and yeah, just feel free to let me know. You guys are the reason that this podcast is alive. You're the reason that it's all possible, so I want to make it exactly what you guys want it to be, and I want to hopefully make you feel better, help you love your life a little bit more, and just know that we're all learning and growing together, and we will figure this all out one step at a time. And some fun and exciting news from now on, every single episode of the Moments podcast is also going to be on YouTube. So if you want to watch me talk, you can definitely do so. And yeah, don't forget to tune into some other episodes from the past couple of weeks. We've had some good ones. And yeah, follow everywhere, and I'll talk to you guys soon. You're the best ever. Love you guys. Bye.